Welcome everyone to another Wednesday night, The Fundamentals to Gain Inner Peace with your host, Coach Menachem. And we are doing tonight class number 82, Baruch Hashem. And we are continuing on our journey. So I want to welcome everyone. And even though tonight is going to be a little bit about negatives, but you still showed up. So that's amazing. Negative is not that easy. It's basically embracing the inner journey. Last week we did some experiential to experience positive emotions. And this week we'll continue. We'll try to experience a little bit of negatives. Before we start, I would like to thank our sponsor, okclarity.com. Is the place to find a top-notch therapist, coach, or nutritionist. Their professionals are vetted and have extensive experience working with the Jewish community. If you're in the market for a therapist, coach, or the like, or if you are a wellness professional looking to get more online exposure, go check them out, okclarity.com. And they also have a WhatsApp status, which has a lot of interesting information. Join them. The number is 917-426-1495, 917-426-1495. So let's get started. Let's get grounded before we start, just to see where I am. How am I feeling? Where am I coming from? Take a deep breath, just to make sure you know where you are. Become aware of your surroundings. If you're listening to the recording, maybe in the car, just to be aware of where you are. And then let's go inwards, see how I feel physically, my body. How am I feeling? Do I feel anything or maybe not? Beautiful. So last week, or the past few weeks, we were discussing the topic of embracing stillness, just to be still and stay in one place, even though there's a lot going on. Different ways of embracing stillness. And for those who want, the recordings are available on menachembernfeld.com. And you can go to the recordings and join us on this journey. Last week, we spent a few minutes experiencing positive emotions. Just thinking about a positive emotion, something positive in your life, and not going away from it too fast. Just sit with it, experience it, feel it, and sit there. And slowly you feel more that positive feeling. Let yourself experience, sit with it. And positive is probably easy, even though we don't do it much. We have to consciously do it. But to sit with positive is not so hard than to sit with negative. But what happens is the negatives come straight away. We experience negatives all day. There's a lot of negative stuff going on. When there's something positive, we might say Baruch Hashem. We might say, wow, it worked out. We sit with it for a second or maybe 5, and then we're on to the next problem. So we don't really give ourselves that time just to sit and take in the positive emotions. And it's not only positive, it's emotions overall. And that's what we're doing, to experience, let ourselves experience emotions, whether it's positive or negative, whatever it is. And just for a reminder that it helps us, we become more resilient, emotional resilience. We become more self-aware. It helps us on the growth, on the journey that we're on. It helps you make decisions. You don't get lost. You're there. Now you can decide what's the right thing. To regulate your emotions, to self-accept yourself, even though there's ups and downs, emotions that you don't like. and it helps us in our relationships with our spouse, our kids, and overall mental and physical health. Not to experience, there's a piece missing in our life, that flow. We don't let ourselves experience, that's called suppressing. We suppress emotions. Suppressing emotions can come out physically in our body in different ways. What we want is to be able to express. We sit with it, we feel it, and then with various different ways, we let it go. So that's what we're doing. And this week, we're going to do negative emotions, which is not fun. Nobody would like to sit with negative emotions. But if we don't do this practice, then you're probably sitting with it all day. It's just you're trying to push it away all day, push it away. But it's there. If you can let yourself sit with it, maybe you can let it go. So if you were with us last week, I'm not sure if you prepared, if you came up with an idea, something. We have to start something small. Don't choose something big. A small incident, something that you can think about that brought up some negative emotions. And it's important to do this practice while we're in a good place. Right? If you've never done this before and you feel down and you feel whatever, could be sometimes depression, you're not in a good place, then to sit with that negative emotion is not a good idea. Don't start over there. If you're in that situation, you might have to make a phone call, call a friend, go out, do something else. Don't sit with it. But when you're in a good place, when things are working out, you're in a good mood, spend some time to just sit with emotions and even with negative emotions, whatever comes up, even with the negative emotions, because when we do stop and we let ourselves experience, we'll have both. Hopefully both. A lot of people only experience negative. So that's also an important awareness. If you only experience negative, you have to have a list of positives. Also, you have to experience positive. But hopefully when you sit down for a few minutes and let yourself relax, different things come up, positive and negative. They all come up. If you think about it, if you don't do this, if you don't consciously think about the negative, then it's subtle. Subtle means you're scared it shouldn't happen again. Maybe something happened a few years ago, or you were too stressed and you're scared to be stressed. So you're always going to keep yourself busy, not to be stressed. So you're constantly trying not to get to that negative emotion. And that itself, you're stressed out, not to fall back, not to get to that place again. You don't want to face it. It was too hard. So that itself is stressful. Doesn't let you sit and relax and take it easy. So that's why we keep ourselves busy, always occupied, fidgeting, maybe on our phone, just escaping. Escaping from what? Well, when you stop, that's when the negative things can come up. You become aware, what am I running away from? So before we start, just a short disclaimer that this practice of sitting with negative feelings is generally beneficial for many individuals. However, it's important to recognize that everyone's experiences are unique. And what we're going to do tonight is just educational and supportive, but it should not replace any professional help if somebody needs mental health or therapy. It's just there to support. If you are currently experiencing crisis, trauma, or have been diagnosed with mental health conditions, it's strongly encouraged you seek a therapist, mental health professional who can be there on your side, while you're trying to do this work, so they can help you. So it's important before we start just to remember your emotional well-being is important, and seeking professional help is a sign of strength. So if you need it, go for it. Okay, and before we start, just a little bit of the practice just to remember, come into the room with a little bit of compassion for yourself. It might not be easy to sit with negative emotions. You need yourself to be there for yourself. Like a child comes over to you to share something that he's experiencing, you listen. Or if a good friend calls you, they want to share something, just try to understand, listen, don't judge, just listen. And don't push them away by saying you're overacting like a baby. Don't take it so seriously. Whatever it is, it is. And that's the same thing with ourselves. You're doing this practice with yourself. Well, tonight you're doing it with me, but you'll be able to listen to the recordings to do it more than once. To sit with something that's not working out, something that you don't like, a negative experience. So before you do that, come with a little bit of compassion. Just listen to yourself, be there for yourself. So with that, we could start. So before we start, I want you to have something in mind. Again, don't choose something big, something that happened maybe a few days ago. Somebody said something you didn't like. Maybe a relationship that's not working out. Maybe a small rejection, you got a no from somebody. Or different failure, setbacks. Maybe you had a disagreement with somebody. That we're not going to choose the big stuff now. Slowly, small things that you didn't like, some fears that you have. Maybe you feel inadequate in certain things. You're experiencing shame. Or maybe you're going through a change in your life, moving, a new job. All of these are emotions. So choose one small thing that you could sit with. Think about something negative with compassion. Be there. Don't judge. It's okay if you feel negative. Yeah, it's okay to feel. And with that, let's start. Hopefully you have something on mind. Write it down on a piece of paper and sit with that emotion, whatever you felt. And with that, we'll start. Find a comfortable position. Take a deep breath. And just allow yourself to breathe, to be in the present moment, right here, the way you feel now, whatever comes up. The first step in this process is developing a basic self-awareness, just to be aware. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable, and bring your attention inwards. Notice any sensations in your body, any thoughts that come up, maybe fears, maybe you're not sure what's this going to be, fear of the unknown. Just feel it, any emotions that come up. Allow yourself to simply observe those feelings without judgment. Just see what comes up. Now let's move on to emotional acceptance. Emotions are natural. They're part of being human. And negative emotions are no exception. They're part of it. So if you can repeat after me, it is okay to experience negative emotions. They're a valid part of my human experience. And just take a deep breath. As we continue, let's cultivate a non-judgmental attitude towards our emotions. Remember, there are no good or bad emotions. Every emotion carries valuable information and it has something to teach us. So repeat after me. I release judgments and embrace the wisdom within my emotions. I release judgment and embrace the wisdom within my emotions. Take a deep breath. Now, practicing self-compassion is crucial in this process. Place your hand on your heart, take a deep breath and say with kindness, I am deserving of love and understanding, especially during times of emotional difficulty. I offer myself compassion and grace. I am deserving of love and understanding, especially during times of emotional difficulty. I offer myself compassion and grace. And just be there, whatever comes up. Supportive relationships play a vital role in our emotional well-being. So think of someone in your life who provides understanding and support. Visualize their presence and imagine sharing your emotions with them. Feel their empathy and acceptance surrounding you. Beautiful. Take a deep breath. Now let's explore some practical techniques for emotional regulation. Take a slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, release any tension you may be holding. Notice the present moment and engage your senses by focusing on one thing you can see or hear or feel. Just be present, look at it, and keep on breathing. This grounding technique helps to create a sense of safety and stability. Establishing boundaries and practicing self-care is very important in this process. Reflect on your personal boundaries and identify areas where you need to set limits to protect your emotional well-being. And commit to practicing self-care regularly, prioritizing activities that bring you joy and relaxation. And remember, this process is a journey, and seeking professional support when needed is a sign of strength. If you find yourself struggling to navigate your negative emotions, don't hesitate to reach out to a therapist or a counselor who can provide guidance and support, to be there on your side, to hold your hands. And let's end this process with some positivity. Take a moment to express gratitude for your willingness to explore and grow, for you being here. And that's a gratitude feeling. It's an emotion, a positive emotion. It's an important step. You've taken an important step, developing a healthy relationship with your emotions. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back here into the room. And that's it for this practice. So, how do you feel? So this should be gentle, and hopefully it was gentle, with something small, a small negative emotion that can come up that you can sit with. And again, to to try to do this experience, the experiment, to try to do this practice while you're going through the emotional situation can be very hard. Don't wait for those moments. Practice every day, sitting for a few minutes in stillness, just doing nothing, and let whatever comes up, let it come up, whether it's positive or negative, because there are no positives and negatives. It's just some things you like, some things you don't. But to be there and continue breathing, be there for yourself, continue breathing. Don't get lost. Let it come up like waves, and then hopefully it falls. If we let it come up, it can go down. If we don't let it come up, it's pushing to come up. And then other problems can come up. Speaking to people about this, I did, some people have that fear of going back to a negative experience in their life. And it's important if you're talking to someone, I guess for myself, before we do this, just to find out if there's anything that you don't know. So that when you do this practice, they might go back to that negative emotion experience that it's too hard for them to go there. Somebody mentioned to me that they used to have panic attacks. They used to have a lot of anxiety, and to go back and think about it is too hard for them. They don't want to go back there. Baruch Hashem, it's been a few years and it hasn't happened. And he doesn't want to go back there. But then what he did mention is that once in a while he does feel it's coming up. That initial feeling of the panic attack, that beginning does come up once in a while. But he knows how to get away from it. He knows how to stop it, whatever, which is beautiful. But it's good to realize that it could be 24/7, subconsciously, subtly. He's always worried that feeling shouldn't come up. So that can be stressful, even though you might not think he's stressed, but you have to be busy, constantly be busy, because if I stop, that might come up. I have to keep on going. When I do have a dull moment, take out your phone, keep on working, get your to-do list, continue. Because if I do stop, that might come up again. So you see how his life is constantly running on that fear. So it doesn't have to be only that, something that we all have, something that, big, small, whatever the experience was, things that we don't want to go back to. We don't want to go back to it. You don't want to think about it. But the triggers, we have triggers and we don't realize. So it is better to take that situation, put it on a piece of paper, put it on the table and look at it. Now, again, don't do it yourself. If it's something big, if it's something painful, if something very hard, you should do it with a therapist, somebody who can sit with you and help you. But if it's something small things, different emotions that come up, put it on the table, write it down. What this person did to me yesterday, I felt like a little kid. I felt that humiliation all the way, and I was lost. Just put it on the table, write it down. And now look at it. And feel it. And then let it go. Keep on breathing. And then you can tell yourself, wait a second. I don't know what that person is going through. Yes, it wasn't nice, but does that tell me something about myself, or tells me something about them? I know who I am. And I'm okay. And we can let it go. But it's only after you put it on the table, you can experience that negative and just breathe and let it go. So that's the idea, starting with something small. You can listen to the recording again, the different steps that you need just to put into the process so that you can have the support that you need. And do small things. Start with something small. If something bothers you, that day. You can do it with something that's bothering you now, or something that happened a while ago, and you haven't thought about it, so you don't want to think about it. If it's not something big, you can bring it back up by yourself. So that's about it. Thank you very much. Any questions, you can put it into the chat. We'll get to answer a question or two. How do you release the negative emotions that are so painful? So again, painful, there's different levels of painful. And sometimes you can do it by yourself, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's too hard. But if it's something that you can do by yourself, it's finding different ways, deep breathing, sitting with it for a minute or two, seeing how you feel in your body. Where do you feel it? What does it make you feel? How do you feel? Just sit and experience it and keep on breathing. A deep breath, try to relax. And then hopefully you can let it go. If you can't, after a few minutes, don't stay there. Get up and do something else. Yes, sometimes you have to distract yourself. Sometimes escaping is okay. Do it in a natural way. I don't want you to go take a drink of alcohol just because you're in that situation. Go find something to do, go out, speak to someone. That all makes you get away from it. But when you can, come back to it. You can do a little bit every day, a little bit, but don't stay there for too long. Again, do it when you're in a good place, in a good mood. If you're going to do it when you're down, in a blue mood, in a bad mood, it's just going to make it worse. When you're in a good place, good situation, sit down for a few minutes, quiet, put on your timer for 5 minutes, just close your eyes and breathe in and out. And whatever comes up, just let it come up. Beautiful. Is tearing up normal when thinking about having compassion for yourself? If you feel when you have compassion to yourself, you tear up, then that's normal for you. Some people have it, some people don't. And there's no normal. It's awareness, self-awareness. Now, the tearing up itself, you can think about it. Is it something positive or negative? Sometimes it can be coming from it. I never had it in my life. And finally, I can have a little bit of compassion for myself. Like we discussed in the past, that inner child so desperately needs that recognition, the holding their hands, to be there for them. But for many of us, we haven't been there for years. And now slowly, when you're doing a little bit of compassion, telling yourself you're okay, I'm here for you. It's okay. You're doing good. You're doing great. Keep it up. Just to be there when something hard comes up, say, I'm here. I got your back. And you tear up. That could be you haven't had it in a while. And that itself could be positive and negative. It's mixed emotions. Maybe you didn't have it, but now you do. So that's positive emotions together. Just sit with it. Keep on breathing. Experience what it is. I can't even define how it feels because it's impossible to explain a feeling. It's something that you feel. I might feel one way, you might feel a different way, but it shows that there is some movement and it shows that you're doing work that needs to be done, having self-compassion and tearing up a little bit. Let it flow. Just let it go. Breathe in and out. Feel what you feel in your body. The vibrations, let it go. Let it come up so you can let it go. Beautiful. That's it for tonight. Thank yourself. And I want to thank you for showing up, even if tonight was a negative session, but we ended up with positive, I hope. But yeah, sometimes we do experience negative feelings, and that's part of it. It's part of me, part of my life. I don't like it. I try not to be there all day, but sometimes it's okay. So thank yourself. Listen to the recording again, do it a few times until you get the hang of it, and eventually you'll learn to be there, to be able to stop those few minutes in the stillness, no matter what comes up. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week in Menachem. Hatzlocha, and a good night.